All right, so we are here with David Crontreres. He's the technical account manager at Mitsubishi Electric. He's responsible for Mitsubishi CNC and Robot. And he's here with us today to answer the questions and talk about the Mitsubishi M80 series control that comes standard with all of our Maxmill machines, as you can see behind me here. So David, welcome.
Thanks for that introduction, Nathan. It's a pleasure to be here, bring some awareness to those interested, and considering a machine tool equipped with our awesome power of the Mitsubishi Control.
Let's just dive right into this. I want to talk a little bit about the Mitsubishi controller and its existence in the CNC space. Now, myself and my background as a CNC machinist, I've used an older Mitsubishi Meldis controller from the 90s. How has Mitsubishi changed and grown in the past decade?
Oh, actually, it's around the same time that I started a little over a decade ago. Since then, I could say that the product itself has evolved along with the service and support team. Back then, we only had a few members in our service team, and well, over time, we've kind of grown and had definitely at least a double in size in our service team. But the product has evolved just as well as our service department and its offerings. Um, to kind of give back a little bit on the history of Mitsubishi itself, it's the Mitsubishi name and company and the parent company has been around since 1870 and grown over 40 different entities and different businesses that it's dived into. You might have seen us in you might know us from TVs, cars, VFDs, forklifts, all kinds of products, including CNC, of course. But the CNC business didn't actually develop until 1956 in Nagoya. First office in the U.S. opened in 1974, and since then has expanded over 50 remote and satellite locations throughout North America and Brazil. Globally, we're actually in over 65 countries. There to support dealers and builders like yourself in Maxmill. So, with that being said, the product as well has kind of grown and been a lot of firsts in the market, such as the 32-bit CNC in 1986. In 1996, the world's first 64-bit PC-based controller. Now, in 2015, we've had what we got now, the world's fastest dedicated processor, developed in partnership with another division.
So there's a lot of changes that have gone on and improvements. Certainly, I've even spoken to people who've had a Mitsubishi controller in the past who have reacquainted themselves with some of the newer technology, and they're just blown away by how much Mitsubishi has progressed on the feature side of it and also on the service side of it. I spoke to a gentleman, he was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he said his closest service was in Atlanta. And now, after doing some research, he has a service guy 45 minutes from where he is. So their service network has, you say doubled, but I think in some cases has even tripled or quadrupled in some areas based on the amount of service guys that are out. So one of the things that you mentioned, David, was a dedicated processor in the Mitsubishi controller, and that's something that's standard with the M80 series. Can you talk a little bit about some of the advantages someone would have to using a dedicated processor for their processing of G code when they're running programs?
Right. Yes, of course. The dedicated processor is just one of the key elements making the Mitsubishi CNC what it is today, is as powerful as it is. It's a dedicated processor meant to handle all the processes a CNC machine does without being bogged down by some of the other tasks normal PC processor would normally do. You don't have to get bogged down by graphics or other calculations. It's solely focusing on the inputs and outputs, the G code processing, and the ladder processing, of course, along with the servo communication. Along with that, you get a little bit more with the productivity. Um, Having that processor is going to allow you to have fine segment processing completed in a much shorter time while also improving the quality of your parts. to put it into a little bit of a different perspective, let's talk about how the difference between our old generation, our previous generation, and the M80. The M7 series had a processing power of about 33,700 blocks per minute. Now, with the M80 equipped on all your Max mills, we're talking about 135,000 blocks per minute. So, yeah, that's a big change, a big difference. Okay, so to clarify and further explain the quality improvement that you'll get with this processor, you can talk about, or we can discuss the super smooth finish element. It's just one of the features that's going to help you pretty much improve on the quality. It's on its fourth generation now with the M80, and you can tell that it's definitely been refined along with some of the other features, such as corner control, our second generation spline interpolation, and tolerance control that will reduce the time to get from point A to point B on small segment machining.
So what that means in a nutshell is for anyone who's doing any high-speed machining or 3D surfacing or mold work, what improvements are they going to see overall with their finished part quality?
A much smoother finish. Like I said, because it's looking so much, well, let me actually bring that up. The look ahead, 1,356 blocks of look ahead. That's one of the highest in the market as well. And having that far of a look ahead, it knows to kind of go in a smoother direction as it goes from point A to point Z instead of maybe small errors in the G code made by the CAM software where it has little spots here and there, not a smooth finish, sharp edges. All of that are going to get smoothed out with some of these features.
So that process can actually over, I guess you could say, smooth out the code that's already in the machine to make it a better part than you would have gotten with a machine with a lot less look ahead.
Correct. Correct.
All right. Well, that's a really good feature for anyone who's doing any fine close tolerance work or any surfacing. What about market share with Mitsubishi? I know there's a lot of big names in machining, a lot of builders who make their own controller or their own proprietary components. But Mitsubishi is a little bit of a, I don't want to say underdog, but he's kind of like silently in the market that a lot of people don't really know is there. Can you talk a little bit about how some people might have used a Mitsubishi controller and not even known it?
Yes, actually, you'll be surprised, Nathan. We're actually the third largest NC provider globally, and there's a lot of machines out there, like you said, that operators may not even know their machine is equipped with the same power behind a Maxmill machine. It's the same hardware. Sometimes it's a little different, but it's the same processor. You just get a lot more on your Maxmill machines. Um, you might not, some people might not know that we're actually behind bigger names such as Mazak, DMG Mori, Marubeni Citizen, and even Kitamura. They've kind of taken advantage of our ease of use to create their own front end, and that's kind of one of the key benefits that you'll actually one of the key things that you'll learn while working with or on a Mitsubishi is that we tend to be very user friendly and easy to learn. Um, they made their own custom screens, and you know what? Operators don't have to go that far, but they can get very close to getting the feel and look of their current Mitsubishi machine to that of another machine that they're more comfortable with. If they have certain soft keys arranged in certain ways, they can also do that with the Mitsubishi control.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially since there seems to be a lot of hesitation in people who I've spoken to. You know, there's people who really like a Fanuc controller or really like a Mazak controller. Everyone has their preference, right?
Right.
But you know, I can speak from my experience working with CNCs for well over a decade. I've pretty much touched and worked with and programmed on most of the brands that are out there. And this Mitsubishi controller, from personal experience, I can tell you, was one of the easiest controllers that I've ever had to learn. All of our Maxmill machines are equipped with a 15-inch touchscreen controller, and just like it, as intuitive as it is to use an iPhone or another touchscreen device, you get that same intuitiveness with the Mitsubishi controller. Everything that you need, your programming and your editing, tool setting, all of that information is just right there at your fingertips. It took maybe about an hour or two to become comfortable with the control. Once you learn where everything is, you could just pick it up and go. And I was setting up a job on this machine within a couple hours of using this controller. So it is very user friendly, very easy to use, and now I can say it's one of my favorite controllers that are on the market without any kind of bias.
Yeah, glad to hear. I mean, yes, of course. Yes, all 15-inch screens that are equipped on your Maxmill machines will come with that intuitive smartphone-like touchscreen. Let's say you're not used to it and you keep touching at it, and well, it's taking you places or entering um, in sections you don't want to be touching. You can actually disable that. There's also a parameter that'll let you adjust the sensitivity if you need to wear gloves or anything that'll kind of make it a different uh, pressure point on it or a little bit more pressure on it. All that can be adjusted or just disabled. Some of the other things it lets you do as well, it lets you drag, zoom, pinch, double tap, and scroll through your program just like a smartphone.
Yeah, it really definitely is like using a touchscreen PC or a touchscreen device, and it's I think it's an award-winning control, right? Didn't you guys win an award for ease of use?
Yes, the award in 2015 was a Good Design Award. There was in Japan because of its design and layout of the screens, its ability to customize and rearrange your settings, have earned us that Good Design Award in 2015.
Right. So that's another credit to how easy these machines are to use. Now let's talk about features for a little bit, David. You know, if you've ever gotten a quote for a CNC machine or have looked at pricing out a machine, you know that there is always the base price for a machine, right? And then you have a lot of control options. Do you want high look ahead? Do you want a data server? Do you want a expandable memory? All of these things add up to the point where
Right.
the base machine's price and the price that you end up with are two totally different prices once you add all these
Yeah.
options to the control. Right now, what has Mitsubishi done, especially for imported machines like our Maxmill, to make that process pretty much eliminated?
Yeah, very good point. As you said, the M80 is definitely feature packed. We talked about the touchscreen, but and the unmatched processing speed of our dedicated processor. Along with that, all standard is the 1356 look ahead, also mentioned before. One of the things you mentioned is memory. Um, the control has two slots available, one internal and one kind of hidden, where you can put in two different 32 gig SD cards, which and I like to think it's almost considered internal memory just because of the speed it takes communicating and reading from that card. There is no lag when reading from it. But yeah, 32 gig times two is 64 gigs. You know, almost standard from right out of the box that you don't have to pay for to make it work. Any off-the-shelf SD cards work, so there's a lot of memory right there. Uh, Other key features include tool center point control, inclined surface machining, workpiece position offset for rotary axis, data server. There's so many. Um, Along with that, we also like to provide a copy license for our NC Explorer software, our NC Monitor 2 software that allows you to transfer programs through an Ethernet line and also mirror your screens. What your operator seeing on the shop floor, you can also see it in a different place, away from the shop floor, from the machining area. where your programmers are.
And that's a really good feature that you mentioned, David, because a lot of factory automation is going towards offsite monitoring, where you have your machines running in the shop, but then you have a supervisor or a manager in another room that could even be at home or be on vacation, and he can monitor the productivity of their shop and see what jobs are running, how many parts were made, what the cycle time is. All that can be monitored remotely nowadays, and it really does help with job planning and budgeting or quoting, because you can see exactly what your job is doing in real time.
Correct. Now, along with that, speaking of remote monitoring, you also have what we have the IMA Mobile. Uh, that, of course, is an option to enroll this controller, any control, and it's MT Connect compliant. So not only can you monitor your Mitsubishi machines, but you're also able to monitor any other MT Connect compliant machine. It's just another way where you can actually get notification text messages or pop-ups on your smartphone to know if there's a change. You left the machine running, but now there's a warning or there's a stop. Well, now you'll get that directly on your phone or on your desktop to know to go take a look at that machine. It's something that anyone can reach out to me as well for more information.
Yeah, it's a really cool feature. We actually had that demoed at South Tech 20, 2019, and it was really neat to be able to monitor exactly what the machine was doing from a cell phone, right there on the floor of the show.
I can actually show you a little quick demonstration. See, this is a kind of a demo account where we have a few simulators kind of showing and their status. I don't know if you can make it out, but if we take a closer look, this machine seems to be in operating order, nothing wrong here. Now we look at another machine. Uh-oh, we got a yellow warning sign here, so got to take a look and maybe see what's giving that warning, while this other one's in an actual alarm state. Now that one's going to need a little bit of a more direct attention.
So at a glance there, you had about 6 machines, was it, up on your mobile app that you're able to monitor the status of in real time?
Correct. It lets you see what program, the feed rate, the spindle feed rate as well, the overrides, and if there's a couple different packages in case there's certain features that someone might want to look at all times. They can reach out to me for the right package.
All right. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have a few people doing that. One of the things I want to talk about also is your warranty that comes with the Mitsubishi Machine CNCs, because I think it's a feature that's often overlooked that a lot of people may not know about, but it's a really important feature, especially when you're getting into maybe a change in direction with the machines that you have, jumping in with a Mitsubishi controller, seeing what it's all about. Normally when you buy a brand new machine, you get a year or 2 years warranty, or maybe you have to purchase an additional extended warranty for your machine. But every Mitsubishi component is backed by a 3-year warranty from the date that the machine is installed till 3 years later.
Correct.
What exactly does that cover, David?
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, I don't know if it was pointed out, or uh, noted, but yes, that's one of the key differences is that our warranty is first of all 3 years is not something that other providers are coming with as standard. But Texmac customers are also getting a full bumper to bumper protection. The the warranty is starting day of install, not when the manufacturer made the machine. That's I think one of the key differences as well is from the date of install, and that covers, like you said, everything from motors, the control, the screen, drive, encoders. If it's made by Mitsubishi, it's covered by Mitsubishi, along with the travel and labor included to troubleshoot and repair those potential issues.
Yeah, that's one of those good things that kind of pays for itself down the road, because if something goes bad years from now, you know that you're covered by Mitsubishi, not only for the replacement part, but also for the labor, for the guy to come out and do the replacement. So that's a really good, I guess it makes a lot of people feel comfortable, with investing in one of our CNCs, because they'll have the support for years to come. And that only adds, to it with that expansive service network that you guys have. It'll give them the opportunity to take full advantage of that.
Right. The product, as you know already, it's rock solid. But regardless, we offer this 3-year warranty there for pretty much assurance to know that Mitsubishi support is there to get you back into production.
Yeah, that really says a lot about the dedication and attention to detail that you guys put into your products, for sure, because you stand behind it better than any other control builder really does stand behind their products.
Thank you.
So as the industry right now, if you look at the way it's advancing, there's a lot that's moving towards automation nowadays, right? You're starting to see as some of the more skilled workers in machining particularly start to age out of the industry, there's a shortage that is of skilled people to replace them. There's a lot of shops, you got a lot of old guys with all the skills and knowledge, and they're headed out the door of retirement when there's not a lot of training going on to help replace some of those younger guys, so some of those older guys with all the knowledge. But what the industry is starting to move quickly towards is automation. You're starting to see a lot of cobots, a lot of robot cells in factories now that would do things like part loading, and machine tending and inspection. How is Mitsubishi? What has Mitsubishi done to simplify that process and make it easy for, let's say, a small job shop to jump in with getting robots programmed with the machine?
Well, actually, we just came out with a new feature called Direct Robot Control. Our DRC feature, Mitsubishi is able to use the same CNC screen to control, program, and set up, communicate back and forth with your industrial robot for machine tending. It's very interesting. I tried it out a few times, and you can pretty much have a complete robot system without the added control that you normally would have. You also mentioned a cobot. I'm actually excited to mention that we just came out with our cobot into the market, and its distinguishing feature is that you can actually set up this cobot to be in cobot mode, where it basically operates at a safe speed and feed rate, and change to a high speed or kind of an industrial mode, where it's operating more like an actual industrial robot at a much faster speed. Of course, you always want to have safety measures such as a light barrier when in the high speed mode. Cobot as well is, just like any other cobot out there, and it's very safety focused, and allows you to teach it very easily with uh, kind of a conversational icon based programming, or like I said, you're also able to control it and program it using the DRC screens in more of a G code format. Instead of learning a whole new language for robots, you can use the same programming code that you're already familiar with, G00 commands, G01 rapid movements, and feed movements to go from one point to another.
Yeah, that's really helpful, David, especially for someone who's kind of nervous about getting into adding robot automation to their CNC. It seemed like the process would be a lot simpler with the Mitsubishi Controller and the Mitsubishi Robot, because first of all, there's less hardware. The same controller for the robot is the same controller for the CNC, right?
Yes, for sure. Thanks for actually mentioning that. The interface is not only that much, it is made that much simpler because it's only a simple Ethernet line to communicate between the CNC and the robot.
So it's a lot more streamlined, and if you know how to program G code, you know how to already program this robot. You just got to set it up and program it to do part loading.
Correct. slight modification to the ladder, and you have a working system.
Awesome. All right, David. I think that pretty much covers a lot of the points that we wanted to talk about today. Did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to use to wrap up this meeting?
Sure, yeah. I guess some of the other things that maybe we didn't touch on, if anyone is still interested, know that we offer many free resources like this webcast, you know, uh, YouTube videos. We're also we also encourage you to seek us out. Feel free to reach out to myself if I don't have the answer for you, if I'm not the best qualified. I can always put you in touch with the right person. If you're wondering if your existing program will work with a Mitsubishi, we can provide you with programming confirmation through proof of concept. That's a review by our applications team of your program, passing it through a 2D or 3D cycle, make sure it's compatible. If anything comes gets flagged, they'll recommend the right G code or M code, and make sure that it's compatible and will run on your Mitsubishi control. From what I've seen and heard, about 99% of posts for a FANUC control are compatible with the Mitsubishi. Let's say you're a conversational kind of guy. Not very familiar with G code. Uh, you've been used to other controls, maybe even with a Mitsubishi that's more conversational. For those folks, we also have what's called NaviMill. NaviMill is a little bit more of a conversational programming. We have ICI programming that inserts G code right, based from icons, and we also have DXF importing. Now, if maybe people are going to be like me, where they rather be hands-on and get their hands learn a little more hands-on and get their hands on actual Mitsubishi control. We actually have desktop simulators that we can provide. There's desktop or portable mills, little machines that will work, portable simulators, integrated robot cells, all available for personal and educational purposes.
Right. So you guys really do a lot to support people adopting Mitsubishi. Because I remember when we first reached out to you guys, Nick was sent a sim right over to us so we could get a feel for what this controller was all about. And after using it, we were beyond impressed with the capabilities. Now you talked a little bit about NaviMill, the conversational programming as well. That's another one of the features that's included standard with this Mitsubishi controller, correct?
Correct. Yeah, everything that we talked about today so far, except for the IMA mobile monitoring, is all standard with the Mitsubishi. The Mitsubishi control is MT Connect compliant. So if you already have a system, it's just getting an adapter from us and you're ready to go.
All right. All right, David. Any final words? Any last thoughts before we end this webinar?
Well, I guess thanks for allowing me to bring some awareness to your followers. Remember that Mitsubishi Control offers many benefits. Many options come standard right out of the box. The fastest processor in the market, 3-year warranty from the day of install, complimentary training, and free software licenses to communicate and monitor within the network. Anyone looking to reach out to me for any specific questions about Mitsubishi Control and products, feel free to reach out. I'm David Contreras again, and my email is david.contreras@meau.com.
All
Thank
right,
you.
David. Hey, thanks so much for meeting with us today and talking about some of the benefits that are to be had with the Mitsubishi controller. We appreciate your time.
All right, Nathan, anytime.